to know. Yeah, but if you guys are watching our thing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for joining me again on this show, African Politics on Heritage Television. Today, President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, the Nigerian president, addressed the nation and stated so many things that is ongoing, that will happen, that has happened. We want to analyze the address to the nation. First of all, we're gonna talk about the picture quality. Then we're gonna talk about the scripts that we were supplied with. Then we're gonna talk about the content of the script. Today on the program, I have some formidable force in our society who are going to be putting a mind to the speech that we get from the president earlier on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce my guest on today's show to you guys. I have four different people on the program today. I have the first person I want to introduce is Chief Fani Kayode. Is an household name in the Nigerian society. I'm sure all of us know who that person is. And the next person is Femi Oke, who is based in England. Chief Fani Kayode is based in Nigeria. Then we have Deji Omoshola, who is based in Singapore. And we have Otumba Olabode Oseni, who is actually based in London as well. So I'm going to give everybody turn by turn to actually introduce themselves. I think Omoshola Deji's camera is playing up, but that shouldn't be a problem. Gentlemen, if you have another listening device behind you, please turn it down so that you don't have the feedback. The first person I'm going to go to introduce for introduction is Chief Fani Kayode. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good evening. Good to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. I hope we're going to go through this in a way that we will please Nigerians, and Nigerians will know how we feel about the speech. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Well, I'm a Nigerian and I'm a lawyer by profession. And I'm also a politician. And I'm a man in my home with my family under lockdown for the last 1 month in Abuja. And trying to survive through this very difficult time. So that's it.
Fantastic.
That's who and what I am.
Fantastic. Like the song goes and say, we will survive. You know that song in the 60s and say, we will survive. Definitely
Indeed.
Survive. The next person I'm going to go to is Mr. Femi Oke. He's based in the UK. Mr. Femi Oke, could you please speak to my audience, please?
Thank you for having me. My name is Femi Oke, Director General of the Nigerian Institute in London here, and also political analyst. Glad to be on your show.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, sir. The next person I'm going to go to is Omoshola Deji, who is based in Singapore. Thank you for coming on the show with me, sir. Mr. Omoshola Deji.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Omoshola Deji, a researcher, writer, analyst of African politics and government, and generally a political scientist.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So the last person I'm going to go to is mother in the house, Otumba Olabode Oseni. He's part of Heritage Family. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, Ade. Uh, my name is Otumba Olabode Oseni. I'm a broadcaster, public and political analyst. I've been in the business for a while now, and at the same time, I'm a full-time pensioner in the UK. I'm celebrating my 50 years that I left Nigeria, and because of the program, let's see how it goes.
Okay, 50 years that you've been away from Nigeria. Do you miss Nigeria
Yes,
by any
I left
chance?
Nigeria April 1970.
Wow. So 50 years of not being living in Nigeria. Obviously, you visited Nigeria
Yeah,
a few
well,
times.
I was home, but I was in and out.
Okay.
But all my life, substantial part of my life has been in Europe the last 50 years.
Okay. So I can hear you okie dokie now. Like
There is
saying,
that feedback.
okie dokie, okie dokie, in and out. Great. Let's keep progressing. Okay. I'm going to go to Femi okay first. Yeah. The speech.
Bit of background. There's some noise in the background.
Okay, I'm gonna try and find out where the noise is coming from. Mr. Omoshola, I think there might be some noise. And October I think I'm hearing myself back. That is the noise in the background. Okay, let's go for it. Mr.
Yeah,
Femi,
don't.
the speech. What is good about the speech? Tell us. And
What is good about the speech? With the lockdown and the extended lockdown, I can't see that being sort of good news for Nigerians as such. But unfortunately, there's really a lot of feedback. I don't know where that's coming from. Can you hear me?
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello? Okay, I can hear you now. I said the lockdown has been extended, as it were, with new restrictions, and it's nationwide. So in that light, I can't see that as being good news as such. The only thing is there are hours in which people can go out to work, but they are only essential and key workers. But in essence, it's a nationwide lockdown that's going to continue from the 4th of May. So that's a big deal. And then there's going to be extra measures for Kanu because of the terrible situation that's happening over there. So it's not really good news. But there's a global pandemic. We have no choice but to continue at this vein. Many countries around the world are going through it. And because when we started the lockdown, it wasn't a full lockdown, it was a partial lockdown. So therefore, we can see that the numbers of people contracting COVID-19 has been increasing. So really, true lockdown has been ineffective. So we have to have a nationwide lockdown. That's what we're going to have properly now. And then hopefully we can look forward to seeing the numbers starting to reduce.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Chief Fanny Cloudy, what is good about the lockdown? About the speech?
I'm sorry, I'm getting. What was the question again?
Is there anything good about the speech? Can you tell me anything that is good about the speech?
About the speech or about the lockdown or both?
No, we're gonna go about the speech first. We want to see the speech
Okay,
generally.
sure. Well, I think
Summary.
it was fairly clear what Mr. President was trying to do, and it's a very simple issue. I mean, this is a plague. This is a terrible pandemic which is affecting everybody. People are dying. The fact of the matter is that only about 10 to 20, well, 10,000 tests have taken place, or 10,000 people have been tested for COVID-19 in a nation of 200 million people. And that in itself speaks volumes. So we really don't know how widespread this is, because 90% of the people that have COVID-19 are asymptomatic. So we don't know where we are in terms of battling the disease, but it is good news that the government is taking it seriously. They're doing their very best to keep people from moving around. And they're also trying to ensure that there's a solution to the problem. I mean, yes, it's necessary to do this, but at the same time, people are going through hell at home. People are suffering, and people don't have food to eat. I mean, it's really bad, particularly in Nigeria. So it's a very difficult time for us, but at least they are attempting to do something, and I would commend them for that.
Thank you very much for that, Chief Fanny Cowdy. I really appreciate the way you put it. At least you see something good in the speech, which is very
Of
essential.
course, definitely.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Omoshola Deji as well quickly. I can still see some few feedback. Maybe my speech is coming back to you in one way or the other, but I'm still gonna go for you anyway. What do you see about the speech, sir, Mr. Omoshola?
Well, the president has again addressed the nation on the issue of COVID-19, a prepared speech as well. I would have expected that there would have been some pressmen there to ask him one or two questions so that he can be able to know what is really going on ground, because the pressmen will bring in feedbacks from the society itself. But then again, the president touched on the brutality of the Nigerian security agencies, which is a good one. He touched on the distribution of palliatives, and he gave the distribution of palliatives a pass mark. Well, for me, I won't give it a pass mark. I won't even give the distribution of palliatives an average mark. And I believe that the government has enough time to have prepared for it. Then I will commend the president's issuance of a lockdown in Kano. It's necessary. Much attention needs to be given to the state at this present point in time. So on a general assessment, I would perhaps give the speech maybe a 45. A 45 over 100.
45% from your own judgment.
Yes,
Thank you very
please.
much for your own analysis.
Yes, please.
I'm gonna go to Otumba Alabode Oseni to give me his own take on this speech. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, thank you. My take is like you are dealing with a teacher that normally comes to class until on a regular exercise. So I don't know what exactly is to be said about the speech of the president, because when you look at the fundamentals, when you look at the what the speech is all connected to, most of them are just fraud. There are no fundamental connection to the people. The people are the whipping, whipping boy. The people have nothing to benefit from his speech, and that is the way I look at it. So relaxing the lockdown on the Ogun federal capital and Lagos state, and adding other 33 other states is still not significant. It's still nothing that the people can take to the bank. They can't use it. It is not beneficial to any of them, apart from the big men, the big people, the people who have messed up the country. That may be beneficial. So for me, an average person in Ileshan or somewhere in Ondo or somewhere in Gongola or Yola cannot, it's not going to benefit anything for me. They're asked to stay home. They're not going to get they just have to deal with hunger. So really and honestly, in a civilized climate, you probably want to say, oh, this is a relief from the head of state. This is going to offer us, offer the people something better. But I mean, we all have to understand that this is all fraudulent thing, a written speech that he has to read and is reading it, but nobody benefits apart from some of his cohorts and some of the people who has messed up the country who are rich today.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate your analysis. Now to the real good thing about the show, about the speech. Yeah, the way I see it is that Chief Fanikade said it's a good thing to a certain extent because at least the man is trying to keep the country alive. Femi Okay said maybe there's nothing that good in the speech. That is how he sees it. And Otumba says it might not be good. But the good thing about it is that the people who are in Nigeria sees what is on the ground more than anybody else. And I'm going to
Exactly.
go with Chief Fani Kayode the way he has said it. Because the essential thing is that the president wants to keep people alive. The quality of the picture, what do you see about it? I will start with Monshin, who is not living in Nigeria. So tell me, what do you think about the quality of the picture, sir? Omoshala, can you, yeah, is you, yeah.
Okay.
The quality of the
Yes.
picture, what do you see about it?
Well, the quality of the picture for me it's not so good for Nigeria at the moment. And I've said this before that it will be very difficult for Nigeria to escape a catastrophe, because if you look at the preparation of government and you ask yourself that if Nigeria has been getting it wrong and there's a particular government that comes around to promise change, and after 5 years in governance we can't talk of a functional hospital at this present point in time, and you want to tackle a very deadly disease such as the coronavirus. Now Nigeria is complaining of testing kits. We have an impracticable social distancing because the metropolis are very densely populated. You can see what is happening in Kano, Lagos. So for me, the future is not so bright, and the picture itself looks very blurred. So we need to prepare prepare hard for a catastrophe, because other diseases right now in Nigeria are masking the real COVID-19 cases. Nigeria is a country whereby we have some common diseases, malaria, cough in the dusty environment. So these diseases share symptoms with COVID-19, and ordinarily Nigerians majority treat themselves, they go on self-medication. They probably hear of one drugs that's working for a particular ailment, then once they feel that they have the ailment, they just buy it and start using it because probably hospital is not close to them and perhaps they can't afford it. So when they embark on self-medication, and if unluckily the case is a COVID-19 case, they really won't know that they are down with COVID-19 and they will just be spreading the disease. So, and that is the impact of education in all these things. And in long-term planning, COVID-19 is a payback time for any government of any nation that has failed to plan, that has failed to invest in the future of its healthcare system, education, economy. COVID-19 is a terrible payback. And I think right now, Nigeria might have itself to blame in the next weeks. So I don't see a bright future ahead at all, because if you look at the way the figures are rising, you will know that there's a cause to worry about.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to go back to Abuja quickly because my mind has been boiling about Chief Fani Kaude. And what I wanted to ask him is that, okay, you said something earlier on about the terrible lockdown that people have no money. And I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. That it's better people are locked down so that the disease can stop. So if they don't have money, the disease, if they go out, the disease will kill them. And if you don't have money in the house, the disease will kill them. Is the president fucking saying?
I can. Is that question directed at me? Because I can barely hear you.
Okay, I'll go
Hello?
again. Yeah, I said
Okay, I can hear you now.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a feedback before. The
Mm,
president said that they're gonna
mm,
extend the lockdown instead of the few states they
mm,
locked it down before, and they're gonna extend it to more states. 33 states more,
Mm.
which makes the whole country. And they gave them some few leeway to go out and do whatever they want to do sometimes during the day. If they don't go out, if they go out, COVID-19 will catch them. If they don't go out, hunger will kill them. What the government is doing, I've had some people saying, oh, they're giving more in the north, they're giving more in the east, but they're giving not less in the south, in the Yoruba land. And some people are saying, ask your government. What do you see? You're there on ground. Is it the fault of the governors or the state? Is it a federal issue or a state issue that the people of the Yoruba land are not getting enough things? Zach?
Well, look, it's a very, very complex, huge problem. And, you know, if you're going to look at it critically, it will take us a very long time to analyze every aspect of it. I mean, I'm not a great fan of this government, of the federal government, and they've got a lot of things pretty badly wrong. I think their response has been, generally speaking, pretty poor. I repeat what I said earlier. This is a country of 200 million people. Only about 10,000 people have been tested. Now, the implications of that are that we really don't know how widespread this disease is. Why? Because only 90% of the people, or 90% of the people that have coronavirus are asymptomatic, which means you have a lot of people probably going around with this virus, and they haven't been tested and nobody knows. So that's the starting point. Now, given that, what we do know is that quite a lot of people have been infected and a number of people have died. And that's a very frightful thing, especially when you look at what's happening in Kanu. I mean, they're underreporting it, but it really is frightful. And I suspect that this is happening in many other parts of the country, but it's being underreported. So the challenge that they have, and I think we need to encourage them in this, is to ensure that first and foremost, lives are protected by enunciating and implementing a very sensible, disciplined, focused, and responsible program, which is that people really do have to be restricted to their homes for as long as possible. Sanitizing, face masks, and things like that. That's the first step. But you need to couple that with palliatives and support for the people that really can't look after themselves. And that is a major challenge because the overwhelming majority of people in this country simply have no means of looking after themselves. And they've run out of money, they've run out of food. It's been a very difficult period. Now, this lockdown will be, from what I understand from the speech, it will be extended for another 1 week in Lagos, in Abuja, where, and in Ogun State. Total lockdown in Kanu. But in a week's time, it'll be widened, the whole country literally, and there'll be what you now call interstate lockdown, which means you can't travel across it. So we are in for a very, very challenging time in this country. And, those that are not here may not fully appreciate the dangers that are involved. I mean, this thing could spread so fast if we're not careful. We may be faced with many, many more deaths if we're not careful. So it's time for us all to come together, work together, support one another, help one another, and stay as safe as we possibly can. And I don't think it's too helpful pointing fingers. I am a critic of this government, but I don't think this is the time for us to be blaming each other for every little thing. We need to come together and save lives, and at the same time help people by supporting them, giving them money, giving them food, and also encouraging our government to do precisely that, and not to be selective in the process. Let me just quickly end on this. They gave some rights, federal government gave some rights to the Southwest, which you mentioned, and only for us to discover later, because I know most of the governors there. And virtually, large segments of the rights they gave to the Southwest over the last few days as palliatives were rotten and moldy. And it was only the governor of Oyo State that had the guts to come out openly and say that, look, this was the situation with some of the bags of rights. But I gather it was the same across the board throughout the Southwest. And we must avoid things like that, because the people that want that rights, that need that, really need it. And our people are really suffering, and we really do need to help them.
And
so that's what I have to say for now.
I might still go out and wash it out because they're hungry. They might still wash it out, the molding out, and still go on.
The point is, the government is in a position to provide good quality rice good quality food for a lot of people. They can also help people with money. Instead of them distributing, small, large amounts of money in northern parts of the country and not being uniform in that and giving people from other parts of the country less, which is what has been happening. Sometimes even trying to justify it. This is wrong. Everybody should get something. And I mean, I'm not talking about those that can take care of themselves, because we have a thriving middle class in this country. A lot of people can take care of them and those around them. I mean, I take care of at least about 50 families that are around me, that work for me and so on and so forth. But government does have a duty to do far more than they're doing. And I think they need to do that, because if we're not careful, you will eventually have a breakdown of law and order in this country. It's already started happening, where people just go to the streets and grab whatever they can to. So you need to avoid that. But at the same time, you need to put measures in place to save lives from this terrible disease.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, sir. I really
Thank you.
appreciate everything you've said. I wanted to ask you before, how many people have you managed to take care of? But you've actually answered that question. Thank you for that.
No, in my own home alone, those that work for me, I've taken care of at least 50 to 60 families. But of course, we always have to send food out, send food to people we know all over the country, send money to them. And in this system we have here, it's not like where you are and of course, I was educated in the UK throughout my life. But here, what we do here, which I think is a unique feature, of I wouldn't use the word socialism, but an extended family system, not just limited to families. You have to take care of people. You have to use your resources, whatever you may have. And, this is the time they need it the most. So I take care of hundreds of people. My wife and I, she has a foundation. We send money, we send food out to charities, we send food to families, the deprived, those that are in need, people we don't know. But at the same time, in terms of standard looking after every day, I have to take care of at least 50 or 60 families that are directly under me, working for me, around me, in my home, and so on and so forth. And that's the little I can do with the limited resources that I have. But there are people that have far bigger resources than me. And I don't believe that you should just be giving money to the federal government. If you can afford to do that, do it, so that they can spend it on others that are less privileged. You can also do a lot on your own end to take care of the people that you can, to put food on their table, because people are really suffering in this country, and we're in for a very hard time in the next few weeks. And honestly, I feel for the Nigerian.
Fantastic. I'm sure you saw the woman that said she will sleep with the man for 500 naira to feed his children.
It's come to that. It doesn't surprise me. You'll be shocked how desperate people are. People go out into the streets and they literally see a vehicle with food in it, and they attack it and take the food. They don't even care if they're being filmed. People are going, in Lagos, this phenomenon of, I think it's called 1 million boys or whatever it is. They go from community to community, attacking people's homes, looking for food. Now, this should not be happening in a country like this. And state governors are not doing enough. The federal government is not doing enough. Really, to be honest with you, if you want me to be frank with you, in this country, our people, those that have not done enough and have not shown enough sensitivity to address the hunger situation in this country. But, it's a careful balance. Look at what is happening in Kanu. Look at what is happening in places like that. People are acting as if there's no big deal. And as a consequence of that, they are dying like flies. I mean, it's unbelievable. My prayer is that it doesn't get extended to other parts of the north and other parts of the country once this lockdown has been totally lifted. Because if you look at the Ghanaian experience, they lifted their lockdown a few days ago, and I have family in Ghana. They lifted their lockdown a few days ago, and all of a sudden they had 250 cases, new cases of infections, literally within 2 days. So we have to balance this, and we have to get it right. Our people are suffering, and we really do need to do far more as a people, and we need to focus on how we want to live our lives.
Okay, I'm going to put that one to one side, and I'm going to bring Femi Okay in on this one. But I think, Uncle Femi, you're still listening to me from another set, so I can see your bar going up and down on it. I'm going to bring you in with Otumba on this one. Quickly.
I'm here, I can hear you.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is look at these pictures. The first one on top of Otumba is today's broadcast. The second one is previous broadcasts. And during the course of this program, people have sent me these two images. And the gentleman is analyzing that this is chroma. The first, the one on top of Otumba, because how can the white get more light, the cloth get more light than the background?
Do you want me to speak to this,
To argue this now? That's why I put
yeah?
both of you together.
The thing is, that, see, look, there's standing what I call fake news, talking about is it the real Buhari or the fake Buhari?
We haven't debated that. We're talking about the
Yeah.
the
So what I would say is that I'm obviously not familiar with the Astro Rock and its rooms and does give addresses and so on. But I would assume that there are more than one room, and therefore what is in the room could be slightly different. So it's not necessarily have to be the same room every time that the president gives his speech. The other gentleman said earlier on that he referred that when the president was giving his presidential address, that he had pressmen there on and so forth. This was not a press conference or a press address where he's going to be a question and answer session. This was a presidential address. When a president gives a presidential address, he's expected to be taking questions from the media and whatnot. We have a presidential task force with experts specifically capable of doing that. And our president doesn't attend those events, so it's not necessary for him to be going back and forth. I think we're spending unnecessary time talking aesthetics of it. I mean, if you consider this address compared to the address, where he was in the last address, it's a marked difference. This shows clearly that you've got the real seal on top. You know, the coat of arms is the real coat of arms. The last time, I think it was some kind of pictorial thing that was up there. So this is completely different. He's got the flags on either side of him, the coat of arms, and so on. So it is a presidential address. I think we need to be concentrating on is the substance, not necessarily the aesthetics. I've long said that our media handlers for the presidency in general, I think the issue with how to present our presidents, not just this president, but any president in the right light, because you've got to look at what is the height of the seating, lighting that's in there, then you could go on and on and on. So at the end of the day, if you don't have professional, capable people maximizing the effect of the presentation of your president, that is a fault for those handlers. But I think the message is what we should be concentrating on. I think that's where we need to refocus our efforts on. I know he said that there's increased insurance cover for about 5,000 different staff. You know, we talk about key health workers. The main problem that we find in Nigeria right now is that lockdown is going to create a lot of heartache and suffering for the of Nigerians who are poverty stricken.
What do you say quickly on this one? Otumba, what's your take on this one?
Thank you very much for having me again, Ade. For me, if I want to deal with question like these or discussion like this, I will like to touch the fundamentals, the cause and causes. Like late Papa Femi Awolowo said, he said, if you don't treat the cause and causes of a problem, the effect will always be there. And I just hope that this situation where COVID-19 is started to play up, I mean, it's playing up with everybody in the whole world. I just hope it doesn't become something that we will not be able to handle in Nigeria. Because if it gets to that, that's going to be a big calamity. It's going to create a huge and massive problem for everybody. We all have friends and family, and we also understand that no matter what, no matter how the problem is, it touches everybody. Now, and what I'm trying to say here is, I hope it doesn't become something totally disastrous. Yeah, because people will be asking, what are the politicians of yesteryears, current, and still ongoing? What have they done to make Nigeria a livable place, a place that they can claim this is our country? And like I said before, I'm not being personal, and this is the truth. Like I said, at 73, and my experience with my education, exposure, and maturity, I think I'm in a better place to understand that 96% of our people in Nigeria are suffering due to a sheer wickedness, evil machinations, bad governance of very few Nigerians who are holding the rest of the populace into ransom. The people who have not done anything to fix, to make preparation for situation like this. And that's why I say I'm praying. I hope it doesn't get to that. We're talking of rice that is moldy, the rice that is not good, and so on and so forth. What are the alternative to some of this? And I'm not saying anybody should should eat any bad food. But here we have politicians of different shapes and forms in Nigeria who have not done anything. And that I stand to be challenged. I'm not being personal, because when I say I'm not being personal, I'm not being personal at anybody, because this is collectively most of the less than 4% of Nigerians who is making decision for the remaining 96 bad decisions. Here you have a situation in the country where an average Nigerian cannot show anything apart from those who have the opportunity to steal money to mess up the country. An average Nigerian cannot say this is what my benefit is as a Nigerian. Is it the roads? Is it the education? Is it the housing, the Medicare, and all that kind of thing? And I want to repeat, I pray that whatever this coronavirus is not going to go beyond, catapult beyond anybody's imagination. Because a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians will not forgive some of the politicians the last 59 years who has been messing everybody up. Like I said, I'm so happy when the Prime Minister of the country where I live since 1982 came today to address the nation. And we all listen, because the palliatives, the offers, the arrangements, the thing the Prime Minister is offering everybody might not be enough, but cannot compare to what in Nigeria. I don't want to go to Africa.
Okay,
In Nigeria.
Let's go to Nigeria quickly. Let's go to Shifani Kaude. You are a politician, sir, and you've seen exactly how things have been done abroad, because you've lived abroad as well before. And you've seen how it's been done in Nigeria now. What's your take on the way they've done it, the way they're distributing things, and the way some politicians like yourself who have not been doing enough, like Otumba is actually suggesting, alleging? Is it element of truth in what he's saying that some politicians are not doing enough? What's your take? I think we lost your voice there. Sir. So what happened is that maybe you got a text and we've lost your voice. So mommy have to help us to reset it again, and then I'll come back to you on that question. Let's go back to Omoshola Deji quickly. We go to Omoshola Deji quickly. And then Omoshola Deji, what do you think our problem in Nigeria? If you want to look at the pictures, I was showing them before earlier on. If you want to look at the picture, what is the difference between the first one and the second one? This is the one for today, and this is the one we have before. Femi said maybe it was they have more than one room in Abuja, in Asura, where they normally do all those things. So that's one, and that's the second one. The gentleman that said it said, I think actually the one you're seeing now, the one of today, actually looking back behind it, and said in a photographic environment, while should one light be more than the other, the lightning on the cloth, on his garment, why should it be more than the lightning that falls in the background, because the background is not that far? I was trying to analyze chroma key to me, but the key was chroma key. Mr. Amoshola, what's your take on this one?
Yes, please. Well, for me, I really don't have much problem with the background, because we have this inability to get things right. It's possible that the president's media team probably tampered with the lightning or failed to use the right lightning. You know, this is our
expert
majority style in Nigeria. So, but one thing I may differ a bit from Femi's point is the president's ability to lead. For me, he has to lead from the front. 21st century governance is a serious business. It's not a child's play. During the election, you cannot tour the whole country. You know, you go around the country because you are seeking for votes. The election ended less than a year ago. Then a global pandemic is at hand. Then you lock yourself up inside, Aso Rock. That is not how to lead. You cannot say because you set up some task force or some, thing like that. No. Even if you set up a team, it should be an addition to your own personal effort. Not that you just leave the team to be going, to be doing things the way they know how to do it. That is not how other nations are tackling this global pandemic. Then you need to ask yourself a question. If Nigerian style is different, does Nigeria have the right? Yes, of course. Do they demand what other nations are enjoying? Of course. If other nations, if their president, their prime minister are addressing them every day, should Nigeria get less? Don't Nigeria have a president? Did they not vote a president? So 21st century governance is not a child's play. Then a situation whereby we are not constant in our approach. During election time, we will see this same government sharing money, sharing rice. Not that the people really need the money and rice. Where is it? Where is the rice? Where is the money? Now, look at the quality of rice that was being shared to the people. I have problem with that food in the sense that you said foreign rice is bad for Nigerians to consume. That most of those rice has expired from China, Vietnam, the nations they are coming from. Fine. You seized those rice, you kept them in the store or warehouse for long. Now there is a global pandemic. That same rice that you seized, that because it is not good for Nigerians to consume, you now release it now to the same Nigerians to be consuming that particular rice. Is that how a good government should behave? Are Nigerians Please.
It's not the president that want the rice to be distributed. It's people, the people in the country that were crying that please share this rice. Don't lock up the rice somewhere. Share this rice. Share this rice. Why should you lock up the rice when people are hungry? Is it not?
People are also. If people ask for it, the boss office is able to take the right decisions. If people ask him to resign today, is he going to resign? Is he going to say because people are asking him to resign, then he has to resign? No. The truth is, he must take the right decision. How can you give Nigerians the rice, the same rice that you condemn that is not good for their health, then you are not giving it to them now? So after the global pandemic, people should now be nursing cancer. Is that the rice they are eating in Aso Rock?
Let's go to
Is that the rice they are eating in...
Mr. Mashallah, let's go to Abuja quickly, yeah? Because there's something boiling here that people are asking. There are a lot of people asking questions in Nigeria. I'm going to go to my chief in Nigeria, Chief Fani Hayode. People are asking, are you in support of them distributing the rice that they seized, that they said is not good for human consumption before originally? Are you in support of it? Or are you not in support of that? I want to put you on the spot.
The very simple answer to your question is no. If rice is designated as not being fit for human consumption, how can you then justify, distributing that same rice, which is not fit for human consumption, to human beings simply because we have a pandemic? What you have to do is either produce or get rice that is fit for human consumption. But
Okay.
let me go back a bit because
Okay, go.
you asked me a question earlier,
Earlier, yes.
and I want to address that, which I felt was very, very important. I mean, one of your guests keep going on about politicians, this, politicians, that. All my family in the UK, for 3 generations, my family have been in the UK at Cambridge University. And the upper generation, the one fourth back, was at Durham University. I chose to come back to this country. I left government in 2007. I've been involved in public affairs since then. The government that you have today are those that you have to hold responsible for what's been happening over the last 5 years. And we warned you that this is what would happen, and nobody listened. The previous governments had a very large economy, fastest growing economy on the African continent. A lot of things were not right under the PDP, but certainly it was never this bad. Now, what I am very uncomfortable with is people making blanket statements. If he wants to make a contribution to his country, the answer is not to sit in another country for 50 years and criticize those of us that have made sacrifices and label us all as criminals and label us all as incompetent. It's most unfair. There are many, many people that are trying their best to make a difference in this country, that are in the political field, and that are in other fields of human endeavor doing their best. But they're back here, and they're working hard, and they're trying to address the issues and help people on a daily basis. Yes, there is corruption in government. Yes, there are bad politicians. Yes, there are bad leaders. But at the same time, there are also some good ones. And if anything was to go wrong in this country, and there's any kind of revolution, which he alluded to as a consequence of all the things that have been going on over the last 5 years or even longer than that, then so be it. But let it be not just affect the so-called corrupt politicians. It will affect everybody, including the elites in this country and those that didn't have the courage to leave the comfort zone and enter the very difficult terrain of Nigerian politics. And I think it's important to state that. But going back to this issue of COVID-19, we should all come together. We have a government. This is a government made up of not all politicians, but APC politicians and an APC president. And it's for us to keep them on their toes, to make them do the right things. The rest of us that are outside government are quite powerless. All we can do is criticize within limits and try our best, and even encourage them when they get it right, and try our best to move our country forward. But we should be here to do that. And we are here to do that. And I find it very difficult sometimes when people do blanket criticisms of everybody and act as if nobody's trying to do their very best. We're employers of labor. Many of us are in the private sector. We're doing reasonably well. Politics is only a calling. It's a service, and we try our best to offer that service at great risk to our liberty and to our lives, I might add. We are making that sacrifice, and I think before you say everybody is bad, you should also be ready to make that sacrifice as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate you. You know, one thing I
I
admire about you. 1 minute, one minute, please. One thing I seriously admire about you is the fact that you are not a fan of this government, and you said when they get it right, we should praise them. And you are the only
absolutely.
person that said there's so many good things about the speech. And one of the things that you said is good about the speech is for the fact that they're trying to protect people's life. But you said, and I quote you, they said they could have done more to make sure that people don't get killed by hunger. That's what you said, which I really appreciate you.
Yes.
Also, you want to say something. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think the way things have been, the way things are
1 minute,
now
I
in
think.
Sorry,
Nigeria, I would like to.
you will have to
Go ahead.
sorry, you'll have to I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
I'll have to leave the program now because I have another program on a national TV that I'm about to do here in Nigeria, and they're waiting for me.
Can I ask him a question before he goes?
Me.
Okay, ask
Can
him.
I
No, I
ask
don't
a
want to hear a
question?
question from you.
Can I ask?
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
because
And
you have
good
been,
night.
as it is, you are one of the bad, you are one of the
Mr. Man, I don't
people
want to hear your
making
question.
Nigerians suffer
Good
because
night.
the amount of money stolen, the amount of money you guys stole from Nigerian. Nonsense.
Unfortunately, he has to go there. We're gonna try and put someone.
Yeah, I'm also, I'm also, Ade, listen, you know me by now.
Yeah, I know
You
you
know
very well.
me. I'm seasoned and I know exactly what I'm doing. And I will never let anybody take advantage of the 96%. He belongs to the less than 4% stealing the money of the country. He was
He's not in government.
in aviation. In God, he was talking about the government of the PDP. The question is, what did they do to reduce the suffering of 96% of our people wallowing in abject poverty? What did they do? This has been going on for years, and he's one of the. Of course, I'm sure he will not going to feel comfortable, because I cannot be a yeser person. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of any politician.
Why
Put
should
it
you
on
be afraid of
record.
them? Yeah.
I also, yeah, and I want to say this to you, as it is, these people, I hope, like I said, that eventually this COVID-19 does not it does not go beyond what it is now. Because if it gets worse than that, a lot of people will not only forgive them, they will start cursing them from their children, and at the end of the day, they will start attacking them because they caused this problem, not COVID-19. Because as it is, an average Nigerian is saying they rather die of hunger than COVID-19.
No, they rather die
Doesn't
of
that show you?
COVID-19 than hunger.
Yeah, doesn't
Can I,
that show you
can I
that
come in?
how bad,
Yeah, I think
how
your brother
bad
Femi
Nigerian
wanted to come
politicians
in.
are?
I think Femi want to
Yeah,
say something to you.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. It's unfortunate that Fani Kade had to leave, but yeah, it was getting a bit hot there. Look, the thing about it, he said many things, and the thing that I found most striking about what he said, which belies his normal character, was that now is the time, and I think it's the right thing that he said, for Nigerians to unite. Okay,
Yeah.
because as I said before, COVID-19 is no respecter of religion, tribe, sex, or anything. Anybody can get it. And we're in a global pandemic. Everybody needs to put all hands on deck to solve problem. The other chap there talked about the rice and gave the erroneous impression that government intentionally gave rice that was not fit for human consumption out to states in the southwest. That could not be further from the truth. For one, you don't know the source of the rice. You don't know it. Normally, if it was rice that had been condemned as in not fit for human consumption, they normally burn those ones. They get burnt pretty quickly. You've seen them on video many times. Customs officers burn those ones. I would rather say that that particular batch of rice, that particular batch of rice was most probably good rice, but it had been in storage for such a long time, and maybe because wherever it was stored, it wasn't stored properly, so obviously it's gone off. But at the end of the day, that's neither here or there. Government, you see, when you are in this kind of situation right now, you've got a situation where food is in a premium, is at a premium, and we are an import dependent country. So we stopped the importation of rice. So our resources of food is very, very limited. And farmers are not going to the farms as much as they are. So we have to get resources from wherever we can. Now with the fact that our foreign exchange is down, government can't just import stocks of food to replace the ones that are being depleted. So it is a very, very difficult situation for everybody concerned. I just want to touch on what Mr. Fani Kade said, that we here in the UK, we're not sitting on our laurels, just people in Nigeria. We are contributing to the effort. Many of us, myself included, are sending money. People are buying.
I know Otumba was saying we fight internet
Exactly, and then
Nigeria.
yeah, so we're sending.
Nigeria everything.
We have hundreds of people that we're feeding on a weekly basis, and what we're saying is that it's not just us, also people in Nigeria, other politicians and other elites, not who are not politicians, should do likewise. I think that a lot of them are supporting government directly, but I think they also need to directly support the people within their communities. So if you're well and up and doing community and you're eating, you're in your house with your security, with your generator, with all the things that you have, your full larder of food, and the next door neighbors aren't eating, you need to start thinking about them and start helping them, because at the end of the day, they're going to be looking at you. And you talk about the 1 million boys, they're going to be looking at you. So if you dig deep as well, everybody needs to dig deep. There can be no one who shouldn't be making a sacrifice now. It should be a collective sacrifice. We should concentrate on looking at solutions and helping each other than trying to pick for faults. Oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they didn't do that. Put suggestions that are practical and hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. So for me, I think we have a situation in Nigeria where Nigerians always blaming the government for all their problems. He mentioned the fact that the health sector is really bad, but it's been long-standing. It didn't just happen yesterday. It didn't just happen 5 years ago. The fact of the matter is that the health
Exactly.
sector is on the recurrent list. It's not a federal issue. So blaming Buhari or whoever is fake news. Each state is responsible for their own health. So if they haven't got their health sorted out in their states, you need to blame the governors and the people within those states. Having said that, the federal government has, an overall capacity to do some things, and the fact that we don't have a national hospital where our president can be fully catered for is very disturbing. But that is something that needs to be done, and it takes a period of time for that to happen. And I think moments, you have different kinds of specialities. Quite a very
Can I go to
complex.
Otumba Alabode Hussein quickly? Because the things are
Yes.
getting a little bit hotter now. Otumba, you're boiling, and the same thing.
Yeah.
Omoshola is boiling as well. So let's
Yeah,
listen to.
unfortunately, well, I would say fortunately and unfortunately, because this is going to be on record that Chief Fani Kayode, I need to be very mild here, ran away. I
No, you
use the
told me
word, and
before that he
I'm
needs to go. He needs to go at 10 o'clock. You
okay.
told me that before.
Yeah,
Before
fair
you even come
enough,
on the show.
fair enough. But he was not feeling comfortable when I was trying to make reference, and all I said was, and that I hope this pandemic COVID-19 does not turn to be more disastrous as it is now. But because when it get there, Yoruba people say when you kill a dog and you want to cook a dog, you must start thinking about the pot you are going to use. So what does that say? What does that mean? What that means is people will now start remember now that they're extremely poor. There are basic things like Femi okay said, there's no hospital, there's no road, there's no housing, there's Medicare, there's virtually everything. No Nigeria among the 96% can say this is what makes me to be a happy Nigeria. None. I want to be challenged, and it's also a shame to hear from Chief Kayode saying he's looking after for about 50 people. Is it 50 people in his constituency? Is it if they have made provision, if they have created a conducive environment, a proper planning? He's been in government. He's been in government at different at different levels, at different stages, at different time. The question I wanted to ask him is, what are his efforts plus others? Because they are in power. If I did not take appointment in government, I refuse to take appointment because if I were in government, I know I would have probably joined them. And the truth of the matter is, the contribution of each of these politicians are going to be, as time goes on, are going to be looked into. People are going to ask their, if it can't ask them directly, they'll be asking their children. And this is what I want to
Let's
put
go
on
to
this
Singapore
program.
quickly, because one thing I find out about Monshin is that Omoshola is that he hasn't been in any political power. He hasn't joined any political party in Nigeria before. So I want to have your
Is
thoughts on
my
this.
God.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, for me, if I'm to go into the Otuba Osini and Femi Fani-Kayode debate, I think Nigerian politicians generally don't feel comfortable when you try to hold them to account. This, for me, is not good enough. If you've served diligently, if you've contributed your quota to the development of the Nigerian state or in whatever capacity you found yourself, you should be glad. You should be ready whenever anybody wants to ask you a question or hold you to account in relation to the government you serve in or whatever position that you've held before. But I think in the Nigerian system, both on both sides of the divide, APC and PDP, you hardly see anybody that wants to be held accountable. If you bring an APC chieftain here now and you place him on the hot seat to ask him one or two critical questions, definitely you would also feel comfortable. So for me, I think we must change that kind of system whereby we must have people that will be accountable in government. Then, in terms of this COVID-19, for me, there is a lot of things to worry about. If you look at the presidential team that
I'm going
was
to comment
set up,
quickly. I'm going to introduce someone else.
okay.
Yeah, Engineer Femi of Panuga. Correct me if I'm right with the name or if I'm wrong with the name. I'm going to show his face quickly. Can you introduce yourself to our audience, please? Can you hear me, sir?
Oh, yeah. Can you repeat that, please?
Can you introduce yourself to our audience, sir?
Okay. Oh, good evening, everyone that is watching us. My name is Engineer Olusegun Opanoga.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Engineer Opanoga has been very active on the social media with us. I've seen his comments and his anger is rising high. The speech today, what do you have to say about it, generally? Assess the speech today. What is your assessment of the speech today, sir? Engineer Opanoga, are you there? Engineer Opanoga, are you there? I think we might have lost him. So I'm going to go back to, I just want that quick introduction to make sure that everybody knows that someone else is coming on the show, because it's not good for me to just bring him. Okay, I believe he's back with us now. Okay, assess the address today. What do you think of it?
Oh, well, to be honest, I really thank you for hosting me. I
One thing
don't
you need to do for me
have
is that
time
turn your
for
system down so that I don't keep repeating yourself to you. Turn your system. Only listen from your recording device. Yeah? Turn your system down.
So I should turn my system down, yeah?
You can see the earphone.
So how do I hear you? Okay.
Yeah?
So how do I hear you? Okay.
Use the earpiece and just listen through the earpiece. Yeah. I think we lost him again. Yeah. I hope you're not on 3 network, because that's what we get when someone is using 3 network in England. Hopefully it should be back shortly. Okay. Let's go to Femi. Because Femi wanted to say something.
On what my learned Egbon Mr. Osheni has been saying. He rightly says that 96% of Nigerians are the poverty-stricken Nigerians who have not got any benefit from our democracy since 1960. But what I keep saying to a lot of Nigerians now is that we always like to say that, we're not getting anything from this government. This government hasn't given us roads. This government hasn't given us schools, hasn't given us this, hasn't given us that. But I say to people, and what I'm saying now is that in order for you to benefit from any government, you too have to have a buy-in on that government. What is your stake in that government? What taxes have you paid? What part are you playing to make that government the righteous government? The fact of the matter is, most Nigerians, when it comes to elections, rather than sponsoring candidates to stand up for them, they're fleecing from those candidates to say, give me money for the soup pot, rather than saying, okay, I like the idea, take this money, do the right thing.
One thing I wanted to say is this, yeah? Even in the UK, it's not everybody that getting something from the UK now has contributed something. As long as you're a citizen of that country, correct me, I stand to be corrected. As long as you're getting
No.
something.
Let's get the facts straight. In the UK, we have a social safety net. Okay, so because we have a social safety net, which the government can afford, therefore,
There should be social safety net for everybody.
No. In the UK, there's a social safety net. So if you're unemployed, you get covered. If you're working, you get what they call furlough. Now, if you're self-employed, if you haven't made profits for the past, haven't declared your tax returns and profits for the past, I'm not sure it's 3 years, you're not going to get nothing. So it's not every single person. If you didn't do your tax returns and do your profits for the last 3 years, what would then happen is that you would then have to go to unemployment benefit or universal credit. Okay, so there are different systems for different things. So in Nigeria, you got to look at it like a kind of insurance. Yeah, if you have an insurance
Let me
system.
hold you there. Let me hold you there because I really want to prone this one a little bit more, right? And what I want to do is, Otumba Alabode is saying, if someone has not paid tax, has not worked at all for the last 5 years, 10 years, and something like this happen, the government in Nigeria, will they still abandon them? Universal credit?
Which universal credit are you talking
In the
in
UK,
the UK or in Nigeria?
like
Yeah,
for
in the
example, in
UK.
the UK, yeah.
The rule is clear, and like Femi was trying to say, the structure here provides for human beings. They deal with human beings. They don't deal. In fact, they deal with dogs. The way they treat dogs is better than Nigerians treat themselves. And like I was trying to say, the level of our wickedness, the evil we perpetuate, is the one following others, making everybody suffer. And for me, I have gone past the age to be afraid of any politician. He can start looking for his thugs and hooligans to come and operate in the on the surface of the UK here. They're going to run into trouble because I know and I'm happy. You remember when you told me, and again, I'm being cautious of what
Why
I'm
will he
saying.
do that? I don't think.
I don't know. This typical Nigerian for you. There's no Nigerian like I mean, like I don't know. Was it that
But
Mr.
we have
Oshaw?
to give him a fair chance because, like I said to you, he told me
Yeah,
specifically that he will be
yeah.
leaving because he has another program starting at 10, and he
That's
left us
fine.
at
That's
two
fine.
minutes
But
to
what?
leave.
That's fine. That is fine. That is fine. I can live with that. I'm not angry. I'm not angry with that. It's just the same thing with me. I have another one around 12 o'clock with 5 other countries. I need to be moderating for them. But what the point I'm making is this: is what Femi just alluded to. He said safety net. The safety net, there's none for 96 or more than that Nigerians. You said locked in, locked down. People are now locked down in their houses. They have no light, they have no water, they have virtually nothing. What kind of country is that? And we have been trying to continue to live with this kind of situation for the last almost 60 years now. And what I'm trying to bring out to everybody's notice is we are evil. African, especially Nigerians, are evil. The 4% doesn't want the 96% to show rire. They don't want them to succeed. They don't want anything for them. They want to keep their own immediate brother and sister as their driver, their security guard, as whatever, or as an errand boy, and so on and so forth.
Otuma, let me
Yes,
hold you
Femi
there.
also.
Let's go to engineer.
Hold on, Daddy. Just
Okay.
1 second. Just 1 second, Mr. Kwame, please. Femi also said one thing: issue of paying tax. And last time I remember taking him on and say the structure to pay tax must be part of the governance. If you don't put structure to pay tax, people will not pay tax. You have 300 people. There are many markets here. You cannot even on a small store here in the East Market, Watamso Market, Hackney Market, or whatever market. We will see that people that are employed to go around each of the fruit sellers, they will still have to tax. But we don't have that structure in Nigeria. We only have structure for big time corruption. We have only structure for corruption, and corruption is what is killing us, and it will kill us until when you wipe off unless we do something about it. That's my call. That's my argument. That's what I'm trying to say. And I have a couple of questions here for him. I'm happy he left when he left. So
Okay.
it's on record. Prosperity will watch this program and see that most Nigerian politicians have been very wicked to their own people. They've not been very nice to their own people. They have not created wealth for their own people. The little wealth the country generates, they are the ones stealing it away. Look at this coronavirus. Thank God that nobody can fly away. If they have been able to fly away, most of them will have jumped into their plane and run away. So which kind of people are we dealing with? This is the
Okay.
truth. And
Before
somebody
I get
cannot tell
to
me not to
engineer
talk.
Opanuga again, yeah, I think Femi is boiling about something. Engineer
Yeah,
Opanuga.
I'm not boiling. What I'm suggesting is that Ade, that you should have another program with Mr. Kaide, where we really it's not about Buhari or anything, but we just focus on him and politicians in Nigeria. I think you should have that question and make sure he's got enough time to really address the issues that we want to address, because there are a lot of things that I would have loved to have spoken to him about,
Okay.
but
For
we didn't have
today,
time to do this particular program.
one of the things he said to me is, can we have it another day instead of today? And I
Come to
said,
your program
okay.
again if I'm not going to be one of the panels. And you're not going to do him any good if you don't bring somebody like me. I'm not bragging. I got nothing for most of what I've been doing in media for the last how many years. Bring people like who can talk to you, who is not afraid of someone like Femi
I'm sure.
Kanikaude.
I'm sure he can handle himself. I'm sure he'll be able to face up to
Exactly.
face the
Yes.
fire.
Yes.
I'm sure he'll be able to
He
face the
said he wants
fire.
to do it another day. And I said,
Yeah, we'll do that. Let's do
he
that.
said he needs to go for 10 o'clock. I said, it's okay, we have you till 10 o'clock.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
Let's hear from Engineer Opanuga, my good man.
Okay, Engineer Kwanuga, thank you for joining us on the show today. There's always the first time or the first time. This is the first time, right? And I'm going to
It
make you
is,
welcome.
yeah.
You are doing some few fundraising for some people in Nigeria. Am I right?
You are very right.
How is the
100%.
fundraising going?
Well, we are very happy that since this inspiration came up about 3 nights ago, we have been able authenticate. With all authentic information, we've been able to give 20 Nigerians 5,000, not minimum of 5,000, almost 5,000, but most of them have got 5,000 naira. But
Fantastic.
some have got 4,000 because I was sending the money from UK into Nigeria according to exchange rate.
Okay.
You know, the main thing is that even as at the time before I came in, I just transferred to one person now. So you know, it's a very serious matter because I personally don't like sending money to Nigeria. You know why? Because they are very deceptive. Some of them are living well and they still want to collect money from you. You know, and which is very, very, very selfish attitude. You know, which is not something that you expect from people that are well off. You know, they don't do that in this country. They are very, very humane in this country. If you have something, you always give. You know, but in Nigeria, if people have something, they want to take from somebody who asks. You know, and they will not give it the opportunity to give. So this is something that now targeted the vulnerable people, and of course, I was looking at it. It will be foolhardy for anyone to say they are vulnerable and they are not vulnerable, but they're collecting money from MTDD to deceive us. You know, I lead them to that, but you know, I know that I'm doing this for humanitarian services. I'm not going to be questioning any integrity of anybody who says they are vulnerable and they are not vulnerable because I don't have those data to do so. So, but at the moment, there is a crisis situation in Nigeria, and it's evident that people really need help. They don't need stupid palliatives they are giving to people because we can manage that. Nigeria cannot manage palliatives to every home. So, how on earth, because of their rulership, attitude to life, they decided to start using the word palliative? Palliative is subject to corruption because Nigeria does not have good database to manage any information or any form of incentives. But BVN and sending money directly to people's account is traceable. But they don't want to do that. They want to be giving people food that they will not even need. Excuse me. If somebody is diabetic and you are giving him bread, you are giving him white bread, you are giving him rice, do you want that person to eat rice in the morning, in the night, or in the evening? It just tells you how stupid, and I mean how stupid our leaders could be when they are rolling out things out because they are rulers, they are not leaders. So it's easier for them to just roll out and just say that is acceptable to everyone. So MTDD came up with something that the government in Nigeria should be doing. So we are filling up the gap to see what we can do to assist people directly, you know, so that people can feel the impact that they have somebody there for them. They don't have any government for them. They don't care about them. So this is my submission on why we started this humanitarian service, and our hope is to reach out to at least 10,000 Nigerians before the end of this year, depending on how much we're able to get from donors and people of a good spirit. We will continue to hammer on how to get the money to people that are vulnerable, and we are so particular about not giving it to people of the same family at the same time, because you cannot give it to one family and abandon one family. So it's one person at a time, depending on where they send the email from. We've got over 200 accounts already in our database, and we are still getting more emails. It just tells you how pathetic this situation really is, But hello,
Go ahead. Yeah.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry. So it tells you how pathetic this situation is. So I'm imploring any Nigerian, you don't have to go through empty. That is not our mission. You do, because of course MTD cannot feed.
Can I ask you one question? What is NDD? NDD, the thing you were saying.
MTDD.
NDD.
MTDD stands for Management Training, Development, and Decision Making.
Okay.
Is to support people in everyday life, whereby people can develop new ways of doing things better.
Okay. I would like to say a very good thank you to you as well for doing that. Ship Fanikawade has done that as well. It's fit so many people. I believe Better Niger has done that as well. I've seen some pictures. I'm sure Otuba and Omoshala must have done something like that as well. For all those people doing that, I really appreciate you. But while you're doing that to people in Nigeria, remember your people here as well that are illegal immigrant that has no paper to work, that need your help as well. Because if you don't have a paper as well in this country, you might be on your own. I was made to understand. So remember those people as well. And Otumba is saying something quickly. Yeah, go ahead, Otumba.
Is it well? Yeah, because he also. I'm sorry, I know he's not here, but I will continue to send this message on
No,
this
why you need to leave? You need to forget about that.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to him.
No,
Come back to him.
Number one, he said what he said. Well, I'm a good admirer of him. Anyway, I don't know him. I haven't spoken to him before, but this is the first
that's
time.
fine. That's
He said
fine.
to me,
You cannot go wrong if you like
only be
someone.
till 10 o'clock. He told me that initially. That's one thing.
That's fine.
And he left
Anyway,
2 minutes
but
to
you
10,
see, okay,
which is understandable. Number two,
the
let me
point I
finish
want
this,
to make.
Otuba.
Okay, the point.
Let me finish this one
Yeah.
quickly. And number two, another reason he has to leave, we cannot argue unnecessarily because I don't know if he's into politics until he said to me he's a politician. Fine, fantastic, good idea. And he's not in APC. And he commend the work that the APC is doing now by trying to save people's lives. That is humanitarian.
He's not here to defend himself, so we should speak at another time.
We shouldn't.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I hope you're going to bring him back so we can take it further. We can take it further. Yeah, that's fine. I agree with you,
No
Femi.
problem. But
Now,
we can't accuse anybody of anything,
okay.
especially at this time of
No. You see, anything we say has to be on evidence. It has to be facts.
yeah, facts.
You know, it's a
I'm
fact
sure.
that 96% of Nigerians have nothing to live for. That's a fact.
I'm sure. I'm sure we'll be happy to have this discussion at another time because I know he has a lot to say,
Sure about that.
and he's not. Yeah,
That's fine.
sure.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna go to Singapore quickly and speak to Omoshola Deji, who has been one of our most admirable and quiet person all night long because we've not given him a chance to. He's a simple talker.
You've been sending us Singapore rice. Sending us Singapore rice.
I'm sure if you put water in your mouth from morning to night, we're gonna find you there in the night. Yeah, like they used to say. Can you do your camera sideways for us? Do your camera sideways. Do your camera
Landscape.
sideways, yeah?
Landscape.
Okay, yeah, leave it like that. And yeah, fantastic. That's it. Yeah.
That's better.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm back with you now, Mr. Omoshola Deji. One of the things I want to say: can any government rule Nigeria successfully?
Say that again, please. Of course.
How?
Indian population is more than Nigeria. China's population is more than Nigeria. And these nations are better than Nigeria. See, it depends on the way people choose to rule themselves. Because life is naturally meant to be short, nasty, and brutish.
Can I say something before
Man
you
is to...
Can I say something to you?
Yes, please.
In India or somewhere around that area, there's a politician that went to a village to campaign, and he was there the previous year, and he went there another 4 years or 5 years. And the funniest thing is that instead of campaigning to them, they beat him up. They said, the last time you came here, you promised us X, Y, Z. But now you came back here for us to vote for you again. And in another country, they put him in the bin. Can they do that in Nigeria?
Well, it's possible for that to happen in Nigeria when people are pushed to the extreme. But the problem we have is when you are poor, your defense is weak. A man that is poor that has nothing to eat will submit himself or herself to anything. So when you don't have any survival, when you are at the lowest bottom of the ladder, your defense is weak. So anything they bring to you, you just take it. Now, 2023, these same politicians will bring the same rice, money, and our people will collect it. Because why? Their defense is weak. Poverty weakens your defense. It's you that have a choice that can brag, that can say, okay, I don't want this. But you that you have nothing, what do you have to survive on? So anything that comes your way, you naturally want to take it. And that takes us to the issue of jobs, employment. The man there in the UK, I think Femi, talked about what people has contributed to Nigeria. What will people contribute when you have not given them the opportunity to grow? It's just like you saying that you want a day-old baby to serve you. How will a day-old baby serve you? You need to nurture the baby first. A country where people don't have jobs, a country where people don't have electricity, people don't have anything that can make them happy. The nation is disappointing them every day. You are sick, you don't have hospital, you want to travel, you don't have roads, you pray on virtually everything. You want to move from one state to another, you have to remember to pray first. Because when you remember that the road is bad, the engine of the car taking you, might not be so good, you have nothing but to submit yourself into the hands of God. Whereas if you are traveling from London to another city, perhaps you don't even remember to pray. If you are in a place whereby electricity is constant, you don't have to pray for the electricity company to restore the light before you can iron your clothes. These are the realities on ground. So when people don't have something to survive on, how will they pay tax? Where will the tax come from? Where? Now, government has the responsibility to generate resources, to create policies that will enable perhaps a quick distribution of resources amongst the people. But in a situation whereby that is not forthcoming, so we don't have, I don't think it is right for we to remove the blame from the doorstep of government and now place it on the vulnerable citizens who has nothing. What has government done to make Nigerians happy? What has the government done since 1960? Successive government to make Nigeria happy. Is this where we are supposed to be today? Do you know how people are suffering and crying in that country? It's easy for us, to sit back in the countries we are in and to relax and feel, oh, perhaps people should be able to cope. Oh, perhaps what are they contributing? But if we are to go back to that country and survive there, they should summon everybody abroad to go back to that country and survive for 1 year. I'm sure most of us that defend those governments will change our lyrics. How do we justify a government that gives people that kind of rights? The reality is that it is the responsibility of some people to have checked whether that rice is consumable or not. You cannot just take that rice from the store and transport it to those states. No. And another thing is that the kind of rice that they give to people when they are doing campaign? Let's imagine a situation whereby NCDC is to report the cases of infection today, and we have 500 cases. Where is the ventilators to put them for a country that is almost 60 years old? Where are the ventilators? People will just die like pigs because ordinary ventilator to put them, bed space, there's nothing like that. Is it the responsibility of an average citizen as well to create bed space at the hospital? Is it the responsibility of an average citizen as well to build the hospitals? What has happened to the tax that the average citizen has been paying all this while? What has happened to the tax? That is why you will see that it is natural. Hold on, Femi, you have your time. You have your time, please. It is natural for people to voice out their frustration. If you come to me and say, okay, Omoshola Deji, I promise you change. And at the end of the day, I had to ask you, where is the change that you've promised me? You cannot promise me change, and after 5 years, I cannot access the hospital. The roads are still bad. Successive government have failed. Yes, that's correct. But you that you are there presently, what are you doing? If the British government has not fixed their hospital, will Buhari be able to go there on medical tourism? When Boris Johnson was ill, who took care of him? Is it not the British hospital? Look at Senegal here. The countries that we should be playing big brother to. Senegal is producing ventilators. They are producing testing kits. And at the end of the day, we will blame the citizen that what have they contributed? Is it the citizen that you gave quality educations? Otumba said something. Some of these people that are in Nigeria got free education from Awolowo. But now, for them to reciprocate that kind of gesture to the upcoming generation is now a problem. So for me, I don't subscribe to the school of thought that what are the citizens doing? You need to have done something for the citizen first for you to now demand some other things. They've given you their vote. Government exists for a particular purpose. Man, because life is naturally hard. That is naturally meant to be hard because our powers and resources are different. Man is to survive under two circums: the natural circum and the spiritual circum. The spiritual circum is the churches, the mosques, The natural circum is the responsibility of the government. But in Nigeria today, we have 200 million citizens, right? And we have about 50 million government in Nigeria. And I will explain. Now, a family will have, let's say, a family of 4. You are the one that will provide your own water. I go to Nigeria regularly, and I know the level of poverty, the level of destruction, the level of economic recklessness in that country. Now, you have to provide your own borehole. Whereas in the UK, there, in Singapore here, you just open your tap, you don't know where the water is coming from. In Nigeria, you have to provide your own security. In Nigeria, you have to provide your own electricity. These are the basics that government ought to provide. So if government have failed to provide that, if government have failed to create an enabling, transparent environment for foreign investors to come in so that our graduates can get a job to feed themselves, we now put the blame on the citizens. I don't think that's right. I yield my time, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Femi, you wanted to say something, or should I go to Otumala Bode first? Yeah, let's go to Otumala Bode first. Yeah.
You asked the question whether we can get good governance in Nigeria. Is that not the question you asked?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah. The answer is very simple, and I'm sure Mr. Motoyosi is trying very hard to break it down. And I want to see who wants to challenge this approach. I hate people. I don't subscribe to people saying we have to. It's only when we break down, when we break into pieces, that we are going to rule. Motoyosi does that area directly. I mean indirectly. In this country, as we speak, there's no nationality that is UK. There's no tribe, different kind of what you can think about a human being that's not in the UK. Are we not being? How many people are crying of marginalization? How many people are crying of they never get water, they never get this and that? How many people are crying of basic things? But the only one thing that governing us here, that is ruling us is what we call rule of law.
Exactly.
If there's a rule of law, all this rubbish and nonsense that is happening in the north or in South House or whatever, or even some politicians are taking advantage of anybody. Is it possible after the 2 terms of Theresa May that he has bought a house in Badagry? Has he taken any money to Greece? Has he corrupted anything? But because we are very lawless, you understand me? We are very lawless in the sense that anybody can get away with murder. Yeah, because I was a former minister, I was former commissioner, I'm this, I'm that. That's why people are getting away with whatever they are doing. So even when they get a contract and they don't execute the contract, they can still get away with it. So the main question again is, we have to restructure, we have to do a foundation. There's no house built without a solid foundation. That thing will collapse. The way we are doing things in Nigeria, we will need to demolish, we will need to remove all this bad structure that allow corruption. Until when we do that, I sent out a write-up today, and I argue that until when we change, we agree. I'm not going to be angry with anybody, and because I also suggested that the best way forward is to sit down. We cannot get solution to the problem without sitting down with some of these people. But the larger question is, do they want to sit down with ordinary people? Because I try to say we need to look for people of like minds that we can sit down and say, no, things cannot continue like this. In fact, we are going to give you a bonus. Keep all what you have stolen, but please let ordinary man live. Let ordinary man live his life or her life. Let them get access to basic things. Let's stop this corruption. Let's stop the idea of if 100 million is earmarked to build a school, let that school be built properly. Let the school have all the facilities, not the kind of facilities where you just build a house. They become just to build a house for them. All these are the things. And again, you see, don't forget when I'm trying to refer to how evil we are. All human beings all over the world, they have that tendency. They have that tendency of wanting to be the macho or whatever. But in civilized country, like here in Singapore and other places, is because the rule of law is in charge, is the one that's controlling everybody. We don't want that in Nigeria. We don't want to be controlled. All what we want is, if Otumba gets an opportunity now, even people who have not been speaking with me the last 10 years, they find my address, they'll be rushing to me. When you make yourself a legislator, and then you have about 400,000 according to the votes that got you there, and you are making provision for about 52,000. What nonsense! You are not serving the people. So when I hear a politician saying, I'm paying for this and that, and I keep using an example. If tomorrow, if the driver of Obasanjo, just to show part of our wickedness, if the driver of Obasanjo were to go to work with a used BM or a used Honda Accord, they will lynch him. Because as far as he's concerned, he's not better than the caste in India. He's like he has been casted. He should not be part of anybody to survive. These are little things. We are not dealing with the cause, and that's what's bothering. We must deal with the cause of our problem. If we have rule of law in place, there's won't be any Igbo from Imo State that want to take advantage of his customer who is living in Lagos. Nobody will just get away just like that by absconding, by taking the money that belongs to people in Ilorin. No local government will be building houses. It's in only Nigeria you have a legislator that is on a particular salary but has almost 40 cars. We know them. That won't happen in Singapore. That won't happen in Netherlands. So until when we change this structure of rule of law, that everybody is under rule of law, but we don't want. That's a problem. Nobody wants to be controlled. You see a policeman slapping ordinary. Can anybody do that? Will anybody stop you in a Trafalgar Square and say, I'll give you 20 pounds, don't report me? Or will you get a ticket on top of your car, whether it's a Rolls Royce or a Jalopy, and then you say you go and fight it out? All these are things we don't want to do. And as long as we are trying to not to follow that structure, we are just making noise. I keep saying it. I've gotten to a point now that I can repeat that. I have the luxury to repeat that we are not doing what we're supposed to do. What are we supposed to do? Install rule of law in Nigeria. Everywhere will be peaceful. We can even, in the process, we can also come up with different policy. If Gongola want to take another 20 years to develop, let them do it. But they cannot break the law of the land. If the senior manager of UTC is somewhere in Jeshaland or whatever, breaking the law will take care of him. You don't need to be afraid of the police. You don't need to be afraid that you work and you don't get paid.
Okay.
People it's only in Nigeria that people get paid and people get they work and they're not paid for 30 months. Let's be real.
I'm gonna take it
Governor will
out of
take
you
advantage of
quickly.
everybody.
I'm gonna take it out of you
Yeah.
quickly, yeah. Because one of the things I want to say is this, yeah. Okay, the problem we have in Nigeria currently is everybody is looking after 100 people. If anybody that knows that can afford something, look after 100 people, like Chief Panikawade has done, like Femi has done, or Panuga is doing. Maybe you're doing that as well. Maybe more Moshola is doing that. Maybe I'm doing that, and so many other people doing that here now. The 100 people, everybody look after. Chief Panikawade is not in government now, but still take it upon himself as humanitarian. And Engineer Panuga is not in Nigerian government. He still take it upon himself. Femi Oke is
Yeah,
not
that's fine.
related to any government. He still take it upon himself to do humanitarian service for people so that they can make people's life easy. Right? If people start thinking like that, that is excellent. But my take on this one is, can anybody, I mean, any government, PDP, HYP, UPN, whatever government they call it. Jakonde did so much in Lagos State. Adjacent did so much in Ondo State. The same party that run all these things in the South were in the North at that time. But during that time, the Northern leaders were eating the money, like the Southern leader were eating the money now. And the South developed, all of us get into high places because of the free education we have there. But corruption in Nigeria, we're not addressing that per se. We're dealing with the government every time. The government can make policy, they can make rules, but somebody still needs to implement the rules. Mr. Moshola, I'm going to come back to you quickly on that one. The government will make rules. Lawyer Fanika, we help set up rules. Engineer Okwanuga, we help implement roads. If people does not follow the rules of the law, if we talk about system, structure, Otumba Alabode will fight for structure, right? And if all these things are not working, the head, the right tire, the left tire, the rear tires are not working synchronizingly, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to move anywhere. We can talk from now till next year. Right? Someone said, you guys like to sit on the fence and comment about Nigeria, that you need to be on the ground if you want to make things out. Okay, thank you for that. We take that comment on board. So everybody needs to do, so if you send a small child something on an errand in Nigeria today, they want something in return. Whereas if you send somebody an errand in England here, they might not just want anything back in return. They might just go and get what you want them to do. They might just get it done. The structure needs to be put in place, but some people need to implement it. The person that's supposed to give out passport is not the government in Abuja that give out passport to people, and people still are being crooked with passport. Look at Nigerian embassy here some few years ago. I don't know whether they've completely changed. I heard there's a lot of change since Justice Okutade take over. I heard there's a lot of change there. That things are changing for good.
Can I join? Can I join in?
Go ahead, sir.
First of all, I need to really commend all the participants here. You see, they've spoken the right language. You know, no matter how much we want to, make it nice. So that this maybe I don't know what kind of affiliations we might be responsible to. But let's be very honest. If Europe is designed in the same way we Nigerians use unnecessary sentiments to build Europe, I don't think Europe will have survived to today. Maybe it's as a result of the wars that bring them closer, but we have not. We have gone through civil in Nigeria, and despite that, we have not learned a lesson. If I want to talk about what the Otumba said, and the virtually everyone, I mean, I'm just going to summarize it, and exactly what the presenter has said as well: rule of law, management, who are the responsibilities of everyone. This didn't play a very vital role in a system. Yes, it is true that if a leader is corrupt, there's a tendency that the followers are likely to be corrupt. But it depends on the type of followers that are with the leaders that will be corrupted. If you have followers who have integrity, they would rather resign. Some are ready to even challenge the authority. But we have a lot of system that is built on respect in Nigeria. Oh, respect your elders. And this is how we were trained when we were growing up. Respect the elders. Respect this, respect that. But they did not tell us that elders need to respect the younger ones too. I don't know whether any of us has ever been taught that when we're growing up.
And respect themselves.
Exactly. We have never been taught that when we're growing up, that even the younger people, even though they deserve respect too. So this is the attitude that some of these people have now capitalized on, and we need to redefine it. Yeah? And it's now high time that we start telling people the way it is. What happened in Nigeria is a serious issue. Somebody mentioned something about Awolowo and the UPN, whatever, and now the people that came out of United UPN, who benefited from UPN free education, and now they want building private schools. Why did that happen? Because these people, they have power has entered into their mainstream blood, and it has corrupted them. They are no longer anymore, because everyone is now so much condescend to the point whereby if I talk in Nigeria against your uncle will call you and say, engineer, why did you say that? Oh, it's not good. If I want to argue with uncle, somebody will say, why are you trying to disrespect him? And what the man that is on the telly is saying is wrong. But because uncle is benefiting from him, he's trying to shout engineer down because it's his brother.
Yeah.
This is what is going on in Nigeria. You cannot do that in UK, because these children are not trained with those kind of rubbish education and sentiment.
Criticize him when he wants to contest for the prime minister.
Even his brother too. And the brother, what did the brother do? He resigned when he felt that he cannot manage his brother. That is how life is like. What is stopping people from resigning? I have resigned from many systems because I feel that what their programs are is not in line with what they said they would do. What is stopping people from resigning? People's lifeline should not be in a position whereby your integrity and your values will be compromised to the point that people who believe in you, who trust in you, will start even, becoming a compromise in the system, and they will start losing respect for you. This is the problem we have in Africa right now. This is the problem we have. It's a Nigerian problem. When I went to Ghana, Ghana don't have this kind of sentiment that much. Their thinking is quite different in terms of respect. I'm telling you. That's why Ghana has developed so quickly. But because a lot of Nigerians have now moved to Ghana, Ghana is now beginning to be infiltrated with Nigerian blood. So wherever we go, we want to corrupt the system. What is wrong with Nigerians? Wherever Nigerians go, they want to go and corrupt the system. Because they will say, they don't know what is going on. This is how we do it in Nigeria. How do you do it in Nigeria? It is the way you do it, not the way we do it. I mean, So we need to change. Listen, I was talking about something yesterday on my MTA when I was running the fundraising. We need to find a new set of human beings to come and renegotiate our independence with these Europeans. We don't want the Europeans to go. We want to renegotiate something. We want new leaders who can go and renegotiate, because the one we have now, they are completely comatose. They are not even existing. They are not even for you at all. They are not even thinking about you. I mean, Fashola came onto Daily Momodu's program today, and he was talking about how he did it. He was bringing rhetorics about how he did those, but there's no road to show for it. He was talking about this and that. He was bringing also for what they call in management, we say somebody is coming to deliver presentation. He was just giving presentation, but it's not on ground. He's the same guy that will talk. I'm not trying to criticize anybody. I'm not trying to say that Fashion has not done well. That is not my main reason here. I'm not criticizing anybody. But if you have done something wrong and you know that you're not performing well, resign. There's no road. You talk about disco, you talk about meters.
Resign in Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, look at another instance. Meters and discos. People don't have lights, you are collecting from them. Is that not a fraud? Is that not a fraud? I mean, let us call it the name it is called. It's a fraud. People don't have lights and you are collecting money from them. And you are removing their meter and saying that they have not paid for things they don't see.
I'm not sure
what kind of
who saw these East African states. Minister was addressing a gathering one day and said he wants to make a joke about corruption. So he talked about Nigerian minister for road in Nigeria went to get an invitation to Malaysia for the counterpart in Malaysia. On getting there, they show him run, and then in the night they show him the house and say, "How can you afford this to do all this road? And this is the house you're living in." He said, "Well, the money he's supposed to use for his house, he has used it to build the road because it's not doing what he's supposed. It's not getting more than what he's getting." So when the Malaysian man pay a visit back to him in Nigeria, and then he show him his house in the night after showing him the road. So the man now asks him, "How did you manage to have this fantastic house and your road is so bad?" Right? And the man was saying, "Are you telling me that the money you meant to use for the road is the one you use in building your house?" This is how ridiculous we have brought ourselves. Listen, gentlemen, I would like to
ridiculous
for coming on the program today. It's been a wonderful program. We've managed to analyze it to a certain extent. We've not managed to analyze it properly, but there's too much fraud in Nigeria. Fraud from the citizen, fraud from the government. I would like to sincerely apologize to Chief Fani Kawadi that we're not insinuating that he stole Nigerian money, because we were not there. So we cannot insinuate that you actually stole Nigerian money. And you are not part of the government, I believe, because I don't think you are in power now. So we've managed to scrutinize everything to a certain level. Even in the paperwork they sent to us about the speech, I think there's a fraud there as well. Because when you look at the paperwork, you get to number 43, 44, 45, 46, and you get to number 39. So in essence, you have two number 39 in the listing. So I don't know how, because 139 says, I'll tell you what 139 says. 139, there's one that says 39 that says something like, we have two, in essence, we have 239 there. And I don't know how. I thank you for listening. May God bless you. That's the 39 after 46. And then there's another 39 again that says something completely different. There's another 39 that says the above are guidelines. State governors may choose to amend, adapt, and expand based on the unique circumstances provided they maintain alignment with the guidelines issued above on public health and hygiene. The above on is dangerous the way they write it, because above and on were written together. Otumba, maybe you need to advise these people to use Grammarly when they're writing all these things. What do you think? So that when they write things that are not correct, they will be able to. I really want to use I want to seriously thank you for listening. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. May God bless everyone that's come on this program today. To my audience at home, I really appreciate your time with us today. I cannot take you for granted. I know this is something that is burning in the heart of people, not only about raising money, but about fixing Nigeria for good. Because we can raise, no matter how much we raise now, we're still going to finish that money. We don't want to be give a man a fish. What we want to try and do is to teach a man how to fish. And I hope our government will listen to this. I'm going to go to Engineer Femi Opanuga on this, Olusegun Opanuga on this one. What's your take, final word, on this one, sir?
On what?
On the program.
Oh,
Final word.
my final word is I really, really appreciate your great time to educate Nigerians and the world in particular, because whenever you come onto internet, you are speaking to the world. Let us continue to use this medium to begin to speak directly to the power that be, because they need our voice. They don't have all the ideas in this world to run the system, so they need people to work with them as well. So we will continue to support heritage, African politics, and we wish you all the best in your programming. The quality of the program, the better for the audience. So thank you very much for bringing me on board, and have a wonderful day too.
Thank you very much. So the next person I'm going to go to is Mr. Femi. Okay, it's been lovely tonight. Thank you very much for coming. Your final word on this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You didn't allow me to come back to Mr. Osho about the tax matter, and basically, what I want to say is that
Go ahead.
okay, everyone here has said that the basic problem is rule of law, and I'm saying to you that there's a nation on earth. Go and check it. All the nations that are doing well, the Britons, the French, the Americans, or whatever, they're based on what? Taxes. Taxes are not just now in the 19th century, the 18th century. Go back to the 15th century, wherever you want to go back, when there were ships ruling this country and lords and kings. Taxes brought the country to where it is now. So in a country where you don't have a proper tax collection system, and you don't have a system, and that's where I agree with Mr. Osho that you have to blame government for their dereliction in duty in not making sure that they put in place the fundamentals for to be able to collect taxes. You get into a situation where a country that's dependent on oil and no tax revenues cannot sustain itself. So that is the fundamental problem we have here. Until the people start paying in, keying in, having a stake in the nation can't grow. So if you're not putting anything in, you can't be demanding things out. To me, are dependency type of culture. They always want from the government. The government didn't do this, the government didn't do that, the government didn't do that. And I'm saying that that's not the way that the Western countries that we try to emulate grew up. It wasn't government that provided the water system for everybody. It wasn't government that the roads for everyone. It isn't government that done the railway systems. Go and do your research. You will find that it was the private and communities that developed their town centers, developed their link roads and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, there was also taxes from the people, taxes on the poor, taxes on the rich. So if the people who are someone who's earning naira or 1,000 naira a day in Nigeria, 365,000 naira a year, is not paying tax, that is where the problem is. So once the system, and then the other thing is the other problem that with the chicken and egg situation is which comes, should government perform first or people pay tax? Government needs the money in order to perform. So my view is that let's put the past in the past. All those 60 years of non-collecting tax and bad performance, let's put that in the past and let's start afresh now. Let everybody key in. Those who are legally obliged to pay must pay. Government should not derelict in its duties. They must collect. And then those who don't pay should be punished. Do you know, the fundamental essence of America right now is doing your pay, I can't remember what the term is. We call it here in the UK, your tax returns, your annual self-assessments. In America, slammed, you'll be sent to the slammer if you don't do your tax returns and you're not in the government.
Okay, we're going to be
It's
running
the
short here. Right now, I'm going to
box.
cut you short
So
on that
that's
one.
what I'm trying to say. So when we get that right, so I'm closing. When we get that right, I think the government forward so that they're wisely and they're hard and accountable. That's because if you spend money for people to do, if you pay your taxes, then you can have a voice. You don't pay your taxes, you're voiceless, and that's what's happening here. We need to have a voice.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are closing. Chief Fani Kaudi has finished his program and he wants to join us back, but unfortunately, we're closing. I would like to say that we are very sorry that we didn't imply that he stole the money. I don't think that is what we're saying. I don't think that's what Otumba meant to say as well. But in any way, I'm going to be going straight to Omoshala Deji because we're closing so that he can give me his final word on this one. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I just want to say that the Nigerian government has a lot of lessons to learn from this global pandemic. Who knows that a day could come that nobody will be able to fly in or out of Nigeria. Nobody foresee a day coming at this present point in time whereby you have to depend on the healthcare of your country. You have to sit in your country and either enjoy or suffer what you've provided in the country. So we need to develop our country. We need to make sure that we do things right. A situation whereby the politicians,
Hello, sir.
bottomless pit, their pocket,
I'm so sorry the way you sound, sir. I'm
both
very, very sorry. You know I'm a keen admirer of you and I will defend you to any
both
and I've actually
APC and
offer
PDP.
personal apology. You
So
said you finished
I
at 10.
think
I even said
we
you told me that you're gonna finish
need
at
to
10 because you have another
make
program at 10.
sure
I'm so sorry for that.
that
I really do that to you because I want you to be a
we
family
develop the
channel.
country
Yes, sir.
and make sure
The only thing
that everything is fine.
okay, I
So
know that myself.
for me,
I will never team you up with him ever again.
aside
I will never, sir.
aside
Please, I still want you
the
to be part of this channel.
aside the taxes, aside the
I
taxes,
still want you to be part of this channel.
we need to look at the oil income. What has government been able to do with the oil income?
Okay.
What has the government been able to do with the
Which
internally
makes sense.
generated
Makes sense.
revenue? It's just unfortunate that we have a failed government. That's what I can say. It's very unfortunate that
No problem at all, sir.
we don't
Thank you very
have,
much for that. Yeah.
we are not opportune
Thank you.
to have people that perhaps have the interest of people at heart. So
The guy is
I just hope that the COVID-19 pandemic will be kind on Nigeria, knowing the way we are at this present point in time, so that we don't suffer too much. We might suffer a little because we've not failed to prepare. And maybe if we suffer a little, maybe that will enable us to prepare better next time. Look at the case of Kano. When the state was supposed to prepare for the pandemic, they are busy removing Shanusi, this, that, this, all this politics and all that. When the federal government was supposed to prepare, they were busy fighting over Oshiomhole and who will be the party chairman. One of the problems with Nigeria is we play politics round the clock. There is time for politics, there is time for campaign, there is time for governance. But in Nigeria, we play it round the clock. There's no stopping. So we need to stop that as well. And I just hope then on the part of the citizen, there's something that our elders used to say, that a situation whereby the way you will assess a politician's performance is how much that politician has been able to give you. The way you assess a politician's performance is the amount of rice the politician has been able to distribute. You don't expect a politician to give you rice, give you 5,000 naira, and at the end of the day, you expect performance. That's just the truth. Our cost of governance is already expensive. If you look at the cost of campaign, live telecast, show off, musicians and all that, then you now look at the cost of electoral litigation itself. If you now have to add that cost to vote buying, you know that definitely the cost of acquiring power in Nigeria is too high for anybody to expect any reasonable performance. So the citizens themselves should not over expect all these petty things whereby, oh, I won't vote for you except you give me 5,000 naira. Politician will give you that 5,000 naira, but then you won't expect that politician not to get back double of that 5,000 naira the next election. So you need it is a holistic approach. And one of the problems is we have a bunch of so many disoriented citizens. We don't have citizens. If you tell them do this, some of them will think perhaps because you are in a better position, but they won't realize that you are saying this thing because you want a better future. Nobody wants to sit down in Singapore. Perhaps nobody wants to sit down in UK too. Everybody wants to be in their country if Nigeria is good. So we just need to do the right thing, both the government, both the citizen, the old, the young.
I'm sorry,
and
I'm going to have to
maybe
shut there because we need to round up. Another program is coming. Quickly, Otumba, give me like about 30 seconds final word, sir. Please, yeah, because we have
30 seconds is 30 seconds is we should not put the cat before the horse. We should get it right.
okay.
As much as I love the analysis of Femi, I want to insist that issue of tax or no tax, it's not the way I disagree the way he's saying it, because here in this country, if you earn so much money and you file tax return for little or nothing because you want to defraud the state, you are going to prison.
Yes.
It's not the same thing in Nigeria where a multi-millionaire will want to earn so much money, but because he can bribe the people, it's not that because there's no tax offices and so on and so forth, but the fraud is so monumental. The fraud is everywhere there. That's the point I'm making.
Not necessarily the government.
Yeah, the citizen. Yeah. But you see, you need to put in structure in place the certain things is waterproof. You cannot do it. In Nigeria, late Abiola had gone into the tax office, gave the tax people where he's supposed to pay 3 million, he gave them around that time, maybe he gave them only 20,000 or whatever, and they took the money and they get away with it. So what I'm saying is to you is, yes, of course, without tax, government in anywhere in the whole world, government has two hands. Government will use the left hand to yeah, but the government will use no. I'm telling you of the normal structure.
Yeah.
The normal structure I'm saying is government will take one hand to collect taxes and use the other one to spend it. You understand? But the truth of the matter is we don't have a structure where governor pay normal taxes. If somebody pay taxes like some of the legislators that has 40 cars in their house, if they pay taxes, they will never have 40 cars in their houses. They will not be having houses all over the place. They will not be having about 20 wives and paying them too much money. Somebody in the House of Assembly will not bring forward and say, no, I mean, he might be entitled to all these things. The issue of collecting tax is not properly structured. That is my argument. Issue of tax or no tax is not properly structured in Nigeria. And that's why people are getting away with taxes. So these people who are stealing the Commonwealth, who are getting away with it, is because there's a laxity, there's so much laxes, there's so much a way around it that people can get away for not paying taxes. That's what I'm saying. The only people that pay taxes in Nigeria are those who are the payee because they cannot run away. But an average millionaire in Nigeria doesn't pay no tax. In this place, if you look at how much they are looking after, how much Google is has to come and pay, Facebook has to come and pay. How many entrepreneurs in Nigeria are paying enough taxes? How many multi-billionaires are paying enough taxes? Instead of paying taxes in Nigeria, they give them such a waiver, they give them such a leeway to steal the money. So, Femi, I agree with that. Tax will be is necessary to run governance, but at the same time, if the structure to collect taxes is just not there, we are just wasting our time. And finally, these people put together, we are talking about our leaders. They are from us. Obasanjo is from us. Balewa was from us. Awolowo is also from us. But he chose to do the right thing by creating an environment, enabling environment for the people of Western region. So that's the difference. So, and that's what I'm saying. But others leaders we have, they are so evil. Instead of fixing the road, they will go and buy a new Jeep. Instead of fixing the school, they send their children to France. Instead of building houses, they will go and buy houses in Dubai. Instead of fixing Medicare, they rather go to London to go and go and get the Medicare. So what are we talking about? And you cannot start blaming Chinese, Indians, Americans for all our. It is us that have been messing around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otumba Olabode Oseni. I really appreciate every one of you that have been on the program, including Chief Fani Kaude and even President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave us the opportunity to actually have something to deliberate on today. I thank every Nigerian that have been on the program today. I really appreciate your time with us today, and I hope next time we're back online, you're going to be joining us again. From me and from everybody in the office here who has worked tirelessly to make sure that the program runs very well, I would like to say a very good evening to you, and God bless you all.
I'm Susan Jumoke Fajano Thomas. It is important for us to stay at home. It is important for people to stay at home. By staying at home, you will help control the spread of the virus. You will help control the virus from spreading to your friends, colleagues, and the community. It is important we come together at this time to work together to support each other. Is by doing this and by staying at home that we can fight this virus. Also, it is important to practice social distancing, which means you need to stay 2 meters away from other people at all times.
That Heritage Television has come up with something new. All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream. That was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.